Utah, provided by Gatehouse Number 1.
Sneeze your way out of seasonal allergies by the food you eat. Joining me now via Zoom is functional medicine expert Bryce Wild to share what changes we might need to make to our diets. Welcome, Bryce.
Dina, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's going to be quite the doozy of a allergy season. We're in the midst of the beginnings right now, and they are coming at you. You see what I did there?
Oh, no, I don't want to hear it. I do suffer from allergies. Some years are worse than others, but it happens in my family. My parents have the same thing. So you say some things we might even be eating right now are affecting our allergies.
There's no question about it. So first, I'm going to take out the garbage with you here, Dina. Starting with vegetable oil. Got to get rid of that stuff there. Opt for olive oil instead. Sugar. We've heard of the notorious nature of sugar causing inflammation and contributing to disease. And unfortunately, bread. And that's really due to the gluten. So opting for gluten-free bread. So that's out. Got to get rid of that stuff out of your pantry, out of your fridge. This ultimately contributes to allergies. Why? Because these things are notorious for increasing or upregulating inflammation, Dina. And I've been in clinical practice for over 20 years. People hate me for it in the beginning when I say get rid of those things, but then they love me because their seasonal allergies get a lot better. The other stuff looks pretty healthy, though, don't you think?
It looks fantastic. I mean, I'm a little upset at the sugar and the bread that just disappeared, but I'm going to stay open if you give me some good options to incorporate instead.
Well, here's some things that people don't necessarily think about. Certainly your allergist wouldn't tell you about. I've written the book Power Plants, and in it I talk all about the healing power of plants. But sometimes, unfortunately, this is about removing certain plants in your diet. So let's start over here. It is, first up, grass season. And ultimately, some of these foods that I've got in front of you here have a familial relationship or genetic relationship to grass, tomatoes, citrus, including oranges, kiwi, melons, and peanuts. So again, if you have a grass allergy, and that's what's up next, you got to think about avoiding these, especially if you notice that they cause the back of your throat to itch. This is called oral allergy syndrome. And again, your specialist, your allergist wouldn't necessarily tell you about this. There's long lists of these grass-associated, and then eventually next up is tree-associated foods. So getting these otherwise healthy foods out of your diet can also help.
Wow, Bryce, this makes sense. There's so much to learn. And I have experienced that itch in the back of my throat, and I haven't known why. So knowing the why behind it, knowing what to change is key. You are a big believer in eating like our ancestors do. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So what I've got in front of me here is a plate filled with fresh fish, grass-finished or organic beef, if you can get lots of berries and nuts. See, what they didn't eat was what I just threw out earlier, and that is the refined nature of grains that we're sort of recently including over the last 10,000 years in our diet, sugar, processed foods. We've got to get that out. So eat like our ancestors ate means essentially eat the way we've been designed to eat over millions of years. The recent inclusion of some of these foods that are otherwise processed causes literally microscopic holes in our gut. We develop leaky gut syndrome, and that contributes significantly to dysregulated immune system. The other thing I got to cover over here is histaminic foods. So when you have an allergy, the symptoms that are ultimately the itchy, runny eyes, nose, and cough and itchy throat is caused by histamine. Mast cells blow up, release histamine. But this can also be induced by shellfish, processed meats, aged cheeses, unfortunately, alcohol, even ripe bananas and spinach. So we really have to make sure that we address the high histamine in our diets as well. Here's the good news. After all this is considered to be out, there's still a lot that you can include in your diet that you should be fine with.
Okay, that's good news. Let's talk about what some of those things are. This really pays to know what you are fueling your body with.
So absolutely. So again, it comes back to eat like our ancestors ate. If you really stick with grass-finished beef, lamb, fish, lots of berries, nuts and seeds. And again, the nuts in this case are things like walnuts, pistachios, almonds, things that ultimately don't necessarily contribute to the allergenicity. This is what I would highly recommend people look up, and then talk to your allergist about getting a blood test for IgG and IgE. These are both the sensitivities, which are often omitted or forgotten about, and the true allergies. When I do that with my patients, and certainly serve up some natural remedies for them, the combination of this, Dina, is ultimately nearly symptom-free.
Okay, this has been so mind-blowing, and there's also some homeopathic remedies that you have to share when you do need to treat those allergy symptoms.
First thing I want to talk about, and it's really important to look at your label, probiotics. I've got a couple of samples here. Probiotics are really helpful for that leaky gut I was telling folks about just a minute ago. We develop these holes in our gut from too much processed food, sugars, and flours, breads, things like that. So probiotics can help reestablish the balance. 80% of your immune system's in your gut, so balancing that off is really imperative. These little good bugs can really help. And then this, I love this. One of the most irritating symptoms that causes you to not be able to focus or do your work on your computer, for that matter, drive, is the itchy, watery eyes. So Similasan. This is Allergy eye relief. I just love this product. I've been to Switzerland a few times. I've done my due diligence in their facility where they manufacture this stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it. They're formulated with natural active ingredients. I talk about some of these in my book, Power Plants. Eye Bright and Sabadilla Lily. That's what you want to look for on the label. And they just gained reputation recently for the #1 global eye care, so surpassing some of the conventional stuff. And here's why. The conventional stuff causes rebound issues. So you drop these eye drops in your eyes, and ultimately the rebound effect, the itchiness and the wateriness can actually be worse. So homeopathics you can typically use as often as you need to, and there's no harsh chemicals or vasoconstrictors or antihistamines. That's why I love it, and that's why I've been using these successfully in clinical practice for nearly 25 years.
Okay, well, if you love it, then we are going to love it. We have learned so much from you today. Where do we go to find out more and to get your book?
I'd love folks to take a peek at wildonhealth.com. That's with a Y, WYLDE. There's tons. There's over 500,000 pages of free information on there. You can check the drugs you're taking and contraindications with their natural remedies that you might be on, and certainly find a link to purchase the book Power Plants, and I appreciate that.
Perfect, Bryce. All right, we are logging on the website right now. Thank you so much again, and GT will be right back after this.